Welcome to the Meet Crete podcast, where we sit down and talk with people who make Crete run every day. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm one of the creative producers inside of the communications department inside of Crete Carrier. And inside the studio today, we have one of my favorite people here. I used to work very close to her, and I used to listen to her on the phone, and she's got a gift.
Thanks.
Tara Duncan sits down today, and we get to meet Tara and find out all about you.
Yeah.
I don't think and I'm being dead honest, I don't think I've worked with many people that are better at communicating with other humans than you.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I didn't mean that in a way to make you cry. It's pretty amazing. You're a pretty persuasive person, and you work where?
I am in the recruiting department.
So you're in the right place.
Yes, hopefully.
With your kind of skills, why aren't you running for Congress or selling yachts to people?
Well, didn't go to law school.
Right.
And Nebraska's a little landlocked to be
that's
selling yachts.
Yeah. You're kind of a Nebraska person, right? You like the rural aspect of this part of the world.
Yeah. Yep. I was born and raised here, left for college, came back because the cost of living in Denver is a lot higher than the cost of living in Lincoln, and just haven't left ever since. Moved out of town, technically, but otherwise enjoying.
But you're still in Nebraska, and you like Nebraska.
Yep, right down the road.
Should we talk about what you did in college?
We can.
Okay, let's talk about what you did in college.
I played Division I volleyball on a full-ride scholarship for the University of Denver, and I was a middle blocker, right side, and then enjoyed playing out there for a couple years, blew my knee out, and decided to come home. But it was awesome. While I was there, it was a great experience. Got to go to the big dance, which was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely a big deal.
That's
No
really
Nebraska,
cool.
but...
Yeah, no, I get that. I had a couple of nieces play in the Big Ten, and the one thing I can say about volleyball players is they work very, very, very hard.
We try.
It must be incredibly difficult being a student athlete, juggling all that stuff and the highs and the lows, and you've got to pack that all into 6 days and do it all over again.
Yeah, it's a full-time job. If anything, it's double full-time job, because during preseason, they basically own you for 80 hours a week, and then you've got school on top of that. They are legally allowed to work you 40 hours a week, but there's always more stuff that comes with it, training table and meal prep and all that. So.
And then appearances and photo shoots and all that.
Yes, exactly. All the media fun.
Video scoreboard stuff. And no, I get it. Was it too much?
No, I enjoyed it. I mean, I grew up being a student athlete. It obviously, when you go into college, it ramps up quite a bit. But it was one of those things where I just sort of transitioned out of the club scene and high school, I guess, at that point, and rolled that into a 40-hour work week. It was just like playing club, but you just get to do it all the time, and you live 10 feet from where you work.
So you come back here, and what do you do?
Come back here, got a good job selling heavy equipment, which was...
Like you do,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah, it was a trip. Ended up moving right outside of town. I'm on 25 acres now, and I play farmer most days.
I want to get to the farm thing. Thanks for the eggs, by the way.
You're welcome. Enjoy.
Thanks. I have branded eggs, which I love. You're out on a farm, but talk about the heavy equipment. You're not unfamiliar with heavy equipment.
No. My dad is a heavy industrial mechanic, so I grew up around that my whole life. I'm married to a diesel mechanic. He doesn't work for Crete Carrier, but he works on heavy equipment for one of our underground companies. And I've just been around it for so long that I ended up getting into advertising for it and selling advertising spots for it. Worked on a huge government project to try to help governments learn how to use the internet to sell their equipment. That was kind of like pushing rope. But, it was a fascinating experience. It's a huge market. It's a lot like trucking, where people don't really necessarily think about it. Your average Joe on the street isn't thinking about what the cost of a Komatsu dozer is, but, it's kind of cool for me
to
see.
What is the cost of a Komatsu dozer?
More than most would expect. I mean, we're talking like $450,000.
Oh, I was expecting more.
Well, there's some out, like mining equipment, you're looking at millions.
Yeah, like those Tyrex vehicles and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like you're on a set of Dune or something. Mad Max.
Yeah, totally. So let's talk about your farm.
Okay.
25 acres, what's on it, and what do you farm?
Okay. So Animal-wise,
Mm-hmm.
I have 40 chickens.
Okay.
I have 11 ducks. I have one potbelly pig named Penelope.
Why would you buy a potbelly pig?
That was an impulse purchase
Okay.
at an auction that we were there to look at a piece of equipment and ended up coming home with
A pig.
a 45-pound pig in a Sterilite tote with zero inclination of how to care for said pig or what I was going to do with said pig. And she lived in my house for
I was going to ask you, did she live in the house or
a
did she live
minute.
outside?
Oh, she lived in my house for a minute when she was cute and tiny and would fit in a baby pool. And I
Yeah.
could put a fence around her. She lived inside while I figured out what to do with her. Otherwise, we had to sort of retrofit our barn for a pig pen, I guess. She loves music. She prefers gangster rap, which is a trip. Like here's a fun fact. Pigs, one of the most dangerous things for pigs is to be stressed. They do not handle stress well. And she was obviously stressed being brought home in a Sterilite tote and then put in some strange lady's basement in a baby pool. And I thought, oh, I'll play classical music or something and calm her down. And I'm trying to work down there and I'm putting myself to sleep listening to this classical music and she's not chilling out. So I put on some Snoop Dogg and I'm not kidding you. It was like a lullaby for her. She just zenned right out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we got that for critters. And then we have 14 families on a community garden kind of set up on about 17 of the acres that we have out there. So
Oh, great.
a lot of them are African refugees, which is cool. They've emigrated to the country. It's sort of like family plots for them. They grow a lot of interesting stuff that, we don't see at the supermarkets.
Right.
A lot of really cool peppers and tomato type of plants, and it's fun to go over there and chat with them in the summer, and obviously do all the landlady maintenance kind of thing.
Sure.
But yeah, they make some great jams. They make great food, which is cool. So yeah, and then I got 3 dogs that are my own, 1 foster right now, and a cat named Bill. And that's the farm.
What color is Bill?
Black. He doesn't have a tail. He was born that way.
Born without a tail.
Yeah. Yep. It's just like a
and
little
a pig
nub.
that listens to gangster rap.
Yeah, it's
Well,
a
that's all
funny
the
farm.
time we have today. Man, it couldn't get any weirder.
Yeah.
That sounds fun, though.
It's,
Like your downtime must be a blast.
yeah. I mean, people meet me and they think like, oh, yeah, she lives in town. And then they come out to my house and they're like, what in the hillbilly backwoods?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm never bored.
I wouldn't think so, no.
Yeah.
Are you ever done with the chores?
No.
Yeah.
My life is constant chores.
Yeah. I think the ducks alone would be a lot of work.
The ducks that was a bad idea. But
Yeah.
now I'm committed. I'm a cutitarian, so I'll eat the byproducts of them, like eggs, but I don't have the guts to butcher. So
Although cooking in duck fat is supposed to be amazing.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love ducks, but I want to eat other people's ducks, not mine.
Not one that has a name.
Yeah, I named them. That's the problem.
Don't name them.
Next time.
There you go. I guess at some point we should probably talk about what you do here.
Right.
So
for my real job. Not my
yeah, for your real job instead of your constant, never-ending job of changing the diapers on a pig that listens to gangster rap.
She lives outside now.
Okay.
It's fine.
So you work in recruiting, and tell me, first of all, how did you get to Crete? And second of all, why did you look at recruiting?
So, okay. I got to Crete for a couple of reasons. One, it is legitimately 2 minutes from my house. This terminal is right down the road from where I live. So that was convenient. I had been doing sales for a hotel operation pre-COVID, BC, and COVID hit, and then I luckily got to take a year off. And I really just renovated our house and did all the farm chores and gardening and everything that needed to be done to my husband's former bachelor pad. And that was great. And then I decided, hey, I should probably put my skill set to work instead of just moving dirt all day.
Mm-hmm.
And I interviewed with Tim Gibbons, our director of recruiting, and it was awesome. It was like a perfect fit at that point. I had talked to Tara, other Tara in HR, and she was great. We had a bunch of mutual connections. I've always known Crete was kind of a Lincoln-based company, It's something that my mom had talked about the Ackleys before because she grew up here, and they've been around for a long time. So that was definitely something that I wanted. I at that point was pretty much looking for something that was pandemic proof. Not that, knock on wood, that will ever happen again, but like it only has to happen to you once to decide like, hey, I should probably do something that's worthwhile and isn't going to shut down when the world does.
Sure.
So yeah, that's how I ended up here. And recruiting is a lot like sales, which is what my background is in. It's just you get to help people find good employment instead of, trying to sling them equipment.
Yeah, I get that. And I've been, for my career, I sold soap for a long time in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you get tired of, you feel like a dealer after a while.
Right.
And yeah, I understand that. And so helping people kind of drew you to the job. Now, you and I started roughly at the same time here.
Yeah.
How's it been working with drivers? That's got to be a lot different than selling heavy equipment to people with big checkbooks.
Well, I mean, there's some differences. I pride myself on being able to relate to all walks of life, which is cool. I think that's a personality set that you kind of have to be good at what I do. I love the drivers. They're great entertainment. Most of them are pretty happy to talk to you because they get a lot of windshield time. And obviously that's what I like to do. I wouldn't be a recruiter if I didn't like to talk
Sure.
to people. So I enjoy that part of it. And the cool thing is, I get drivers from all over the country, all the way from Florida to the very tippy top of Washington State. And so you get a lot of experience in between those miles on types of people and how they operate and who likes what kind of weather and who doesn't like what kind of weather. And it's just neat. Everybody's got a very unique story. And I remember almost everybody that I've hired, which is cool. So,
Well, that's great.
yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of people.
Well, yeah, that's a nice thing to keep inside of your head.
Yeah,
all the
for
people that
sure.
you're helping.
And all my hires that have YouTube channels, I know you're out there. I see them.
Oh, you're watching.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
You won't watch mine,
No.
but that's
I
fine.
didn't hire you.
No, that's true. What do you wish you knew before you came here that it took a little while to stumble into and figure it out? Do you think?
Before I got here,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had a very similar skill set before I got here, so talking to people was never an issue.
Right.
Learning how to discuss with folks was never an issue. I think a lot of it was I just didn't realize how much the industry flexes back and forth depending on freight, depending on the economy. Like, there is so much more tied into this, and it really ties into driver behavior and how and when they want to move jobs or if they want to move jobs. There is so many external factors that you have to take into account. And the other thing that I didn't realize is how big of a player Crete really is in the game. Because they're down the road from me, I look at them like, oh, it's a local kind
Sure.
of company. Even though I know it's not a mom and pop shop, it's a huge conglomerate, but it's really mid-sized compared to a lot of the really big players in the game. And I just had no idea how much pull that there was from those mega companies. So it's interesting to see all that sort of come into play and create reputations and change mindsets between drivers. I just wish I had a better pulse on that when I first started. I do now, but like watch the news and translate it to
Well, it's weird
trucking.
because like right after we got here, and it's still the pandemic's still going on, but it's it's winding down ish.
Yeah.
And then the supply chain thing happens, and I didn't realize how much has to happen before the truckers ever get their loads, right? So between the stuff that's coming in the coasts and the waterways, and then the intermodal that might take it somewhere else, and then you got to get loaded, and then everybody's got their COVID restrictions on top of that, and there's not enough computer chips, and there's delays on everything.
Right.
And
It's a trip.
yeah, it's weird that anything got done during that whole time. It was a huge learning lesson when I got here too. I can't imagine what it would have been like for you.
Doesn't it make you appreciate when you go to the grocery store,
Absolutely.
you go to Walmart, you're like, man, there are so many people that it took
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
get this thing in front of me on rollback special. Like, it's insane. It is insane how much effort goes into moving just the average consumer good onto the shelf.
Yeah, when you go to buying my wife chocolate for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Right? Like all that Hershey stuff, we probably brought that here.
Yeah, probably. That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool.
Makes driving down the interstate more fun too.
Tell me what your approach is. Yeah, it is. There's one.
Yeah,
There's one.
I know.
There's
My
another
husband,
one.
he loves it. He's like, we're just playing Spot Creek Carrier and Schaefer Trucking anytime we drive anywhere.
That's fun. What is your approach to recruiting? It's, to me, I'm just telling you as a third-party observer, it seems to me like you're not doing it to hit a quota.
No. I hopefully my boss doesn't listen to this, but
Probably
if
won't.
he does, I genuinely feel kind of like a matchmaker. Like when I'm interacting with these drivers, I'm getting a feel for their personality. First thing I want to ask is, what are they looking for? What do they need in order for a job to fit them? And there's a lot of recruiters out there, not here, but out in the world, that really are intense and pushy on, hey, it'll be fine. We'll just get you in the door. We'll make it work. Here at Crete, we're pretty big on tenure. We want drivers to stay for a long time. And that reflects on our goals in recruiting. That's part of our big goals. It's not just a hiring quota, but drivers have to stay in order for them to even count as a hire for us. I get paid a salary. I don't get paid a commission. I don't get paid for every head that walks through the door. So my approach is really like, are we a good fit for you? And are you a good fit for us? And, do we have what you're looking for? And if we don't, I'll send you my information. If things change in your life or your circumstances change, hopefully this has been a good enough interaction that a driver is going to reach back out and say, hey, I'm ready to go over the road or whatever it is. But I am not pushy when it comes to getting them on board because it has to be a good fit. Otherwise, you're just trying to shove a square peg into a round hole and nobody's having a good time.
No. Is there anybody that you've gotten to come work here that you're really proud of? Like it was a journey or like stars really had to align for that to happen? Is there somebody that sticks out? You remember them all, so.
One of my favorite drivers, Scott Bates, is great. He's on the Schaefer side. He drove for us way back when his circumstances changed and had to find something that was a little bit closer to home. And he was probably one of the first drivers that I hired. And he's been a hoot the whole time that I've worked with him. And he calls in and checks in on me, which is great. I've helped hire a few of his friends. I need to call him. But, I mean, it was like a 4-month long recruiting process because, he had to finish things up at home. We had to get things adjusted on our side. But it was cool. It was kind of like seeing him come home. Even though I wasn't here when he was there the first time, he really felt like, he was coming back to his old stomping grounds, which was neat.
That's great.
Yeah.
Must have made him happy. Must have made you happy.
Yeah. And he brings me Hershey's chocolate sometimes.
It's great. All I got was
Out
eggs.
of the factory. They don't last very long in my house, so.
No, I get it. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to crack them open and actually make an omelet.
Yeah,
It's going to
there
be
you
great.
go.
Thanks for sitting down today.
Absolutely.
It's always great to see you.
Yeah, you too.
I wish it would happen more often.
Well, come to my side of the office.
Okay. I totally will do that. I totally would do that. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening to the Meet Crete podcast. Just a reminder, you can find weekly updates, driver stories, and episodes of this podcast and more on the Crete YouTube channel. We'll be back to find out more about the people that we work with inside Crete Carrier and Schaefer Trucking in the next episode of Meet Crete.